right, good to be with you guys. We're going to go ahead and get started. Miss you guys, haven't seen you for a few weeks.
Okay.
Everybody doing all right?
Good to see you back.
All right, don't forget the camera's on anyway. That was funny. Anyway, glad to be with you guys. I actually today want to do something a little bit different as opposed to giving you a takeaway or teaching you a lesson. I actually want to admonish you, or actually, that's not even the right word. I want to give you a compliment. Something that came up yesterday in a conversation that I was having with one of my professors on Facebook, and I realized that what we were discussing is a characteristic that you guys already possess. So I want to talk about brotherhood, and I think you ought to walk away feeling pretty good after we get finished with this. Yeah, it's a good pat on the back. It'll make you feel real good. Too bad everybody didn't stay to hear this, but those that will, you can pass it on, because this is really how I feel. You know, there's a program that's getting ready to come on television, and it is about it's called Another Form of Slavery. Eric Holder, he's the Attorney General. His wife, Dr. Sharon Malone, is getting ready to put it on. It's going to be on PBS, and it's talking about right after slavery there was a form of really of slavery where they were arresting people for different reasons and well, almost for no reason, and using that as a way of continuing to have slave labor. It was just a really awful thing. It's going to be on PBS. I think it's somewhere around the 13th. I don't know the exact date, but you can check it out and find out. It's you know, an awful situation. But when you take a look at the way, and I'll come back to that, when you take a look at the way Jesus designed things, he said in the 13th chapter of John, in the 34th and the 35th verse, he said, people will know that you're my disciples by how you treat each other, right? They'll know that your brotherhood. They'll know that by how you treat each other, by how you act around each other. They'll know that you're connected to me. And what he meant by that is they'll see my character in you by how you act when you interact with one another. All right? Now I'm going somewhere with this, so just follow me for a second, then I'll get to you. That's an identifier that you've been, you know, connected to Jesus. And, you know, one of the things that I've also noticed, another example, is in the Sudan right now, there are people that are being killed, right? The Muslim government is killing Protestants as well as killing Jehovah's Witnesses, okay? And the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Protestants are getting along. Now, there are some serious doctrinal differences between Jehovah's Witnesses and mainline Protestants. Protestants are just simply non-Catholics, so that'd be your Baptists, Pentecostals, Charismatics, whatever, right? But they get along there and help each other survive and help each other if they need food or whatever it may be. They're staying in camps together and all that. Why? Because the same group is trying to kill them. Right? You can get along real good with whoever it is if the same group of people is trying to do you in. Everybody, we're all on the same page with that, right? And so, back to the program that's going to be coming on, when I got into this discussion with my professor on the internet about this other form of slavery, we were talking about all of this together. And what he started talking about was the story of the book of Philemon and Onesimus. And you may know this story where Onesimus leaves Philemon. He's a slave, and he takes off, and he escapes, and he goes and he finds Paul, and he gets saved. And just like Philemon, he gets saved under Paul, right? And so now Paul is writing this letter and saying, Onesimus is very useful to me, but I'm sending him back to you because that's the right thing to do. But when he gets back to you, I don't want you to treat him like a slave. I want you to treat Onesimus like a brother. And he makes this statement, and now I'm going to make everything that I've been saying come together. He makes this staggering statement. He says, no longer as a slave, but better than a slave, as a dear brother in the Lord. And so what he's saying is, don't treat him the way that you treated him before, but look at him as your Christian brother. And this is what Dan Dyke, this is the professor I'm talking about, this is what he said. He said that in essence what he was trying to say is there are certain things that are supposed to draw us together as brothers, right? So when we're talking about the people in the Sudan, you see how they're drawn together. You know, the Protestants and the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're drawn together as brothers, okay? When a person becomes a Christian, Jesus says, you're going to know that the people are going to know you're my disciples. You've been hanging out with me because you're acting like me, right? You seeing how all of this is fitting. And what Dan Dyke said is he once asked a guy that was in the KKK, he said, and the guy that was in the KKK was obviously a Christian, he said, if a black man becomes a Christian, then now he's your brother. So can you treat him as a slave? How do you treat him? Do you treat him differently? And Dan made the statement at the end of that. It was just, he said, end of conversation. Because once he said that, there's nothing else. What else are you going to say? This person's a Christian just like everybody else is. So his color doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. Right? None of those things matter. Now let's talk about you guys. One of the things that I've noticed since I've been spending time with you all is your love for each other. You guys take care of each other. Right? There's no speech about what you need to do today. I've noticed when it comes to lunches, if you feel like you've got what you need, you don't want any more. See, the world has a different impression, but that's not what I'm saying. I've got what I need. I don't need anything else. Oh, no, I don't need any extra socks, Mike. This is enough. I'm fine. Somebody else might need this. Or can I take this lunch because there's a guy upstairs that's sick. He can't walk that well. And you know, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this upstairs to him because he can't come down. That's brotherhood. Right? And I see that kind of love and compassion and camaraderie amongst people that are supposed to be. You understand what I'm saying, right? Right? I've gone to a camp and someone said, I've got an extra tent. You know anybody that needs a tent? But wait a minute, you're supposed to be the person that, aren't you supposed to be greedy and after all you can, because see, that's what they, I've only got one request. And this isn't a lesson. It's just a request. In droves, people are getting apartments that are homeless. And all I'm asking you to do is don't change. Take that characteristic to whatever apartment complex, house you get, mansion, whatever it is, take that with you wherever you go, because the rest of the world needs to learn that lesson. Because you've already got it. You don't need to learn it. But other people, if they had it, they've forgotten it, or they've never gotten it. Because it's been about me, 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 me. That's why they think because homeless people have less, they must be greedy, because a lot of people are themselves. But they don't realize that, no, there's a brotherhood down here. And people don't understand it. So when you get where they are, teach them. Thanks for your time.